To what extent did Columbus brutalize the Native Americans? And if he did that, then why is he still glorified in textbooks and otherwise? So that's a very good question. So Columbus, as we know, he reached the Americas in the year 1492, if I got my date right. So let's take a look at the region. So we are in England right now. Let's go westwards. So Columbus was basically provided with ships and funding uh, by Spain, by the king and queen of Spain. So he promised them. So at the time, what happened was that the Ottomans had conquered the Byzantine Empire. So the land route to India was cut off. Now, India was a great source of textiles and spices and other materials for Europe. Europe needed that, and they wanted to continue trading with India. Now, the Ottomans had cut off the trade route, so they were now seeking new ways of reaching India. The Portuguese were trying to go around Africa, and the Spanish also wanted to do that. So Columbus said it was newly known at the time that the world was round, it was no longer flat. Yeah, they had realized. So Columbus said that instead of going eastwards, I'll go westwards. I'll cross the great unknown sea and I'll reach Asia from the other side. And that's how I'll reach Europe. So that's what he promised to the king and queen of Spain, Queen Isabella, if I'm not mistaken. And they provided him with 3 ships and a number of men. And he went on this great voyage into the unknown westwards of Spain in the Atlantic Ocean. And he ended up, let's take a look. Here's the map. So Columbus left from Spain and he went westwards in 3 ships. He had 3 ships with him, and he ended up in the Bahamas. So the Bahamas is over here, and he encountered these native people here. He called them Indians. He declared that he had reached India. So he came into the Bahamas. He met these Indians, whom he called Indians, the native. They were the Arawak people, of the Bahamas, the indigenous people of the Bahamas. So he noticed that they were wearing gold earrings and all that, ornaments in their ears. So he took a bunch of these people as slaves, and he set about finding gold. He sent a lot of these people back as slaves into Spain, and then he set about trying to search for gold, and he came across the island of Hispaniola, which is the present day Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And over here also there were the Arawak people who were living here. So he enslaved them, okay, in the hope of finding gold, because he had promised the king and queen a great deal of gold. And once he reached land in the Bahamas, he sent back, I think he went back to Spain and said he had discovered India and it was a very rich and fertile land. He needed more resources, he needed more ships and more men to get to work and get all the gold out of there and back into Spain. So now this time the king and queen of Spain gave him 17 ships and more than 1,000 men. So he came back to the Americas. He came to this island called Hispaniola. He enslaved everybody there. Everybody about every individual above 14 was put to work. They had to mine a certain amount of gold within a certain amount of time. If they did that, they were allowed to live. Otherwise, their hands and feet were chopped off and they were murdered. And everybody was put to work. All the men were put to work in mines and trying to find gold. And all the women were put to work separately in basically planting cassava plants and digging up hills and all that. So the men and women were separated. They were made to work like 18 hours a day or something. And basically they all died off very, very quickly. There was this Spanish missionary, a Spanish priest called Bartolome de las Casas. He has put it on the record. He was there. So he said that between 1494 and 1508, 3 million people died in the Dominican Republic, in the island of Hispaniola. The entire population was wiped out in less than 20 years. That's the scale of the genocide that Columbus perpetrated. He was an absolute barbaric monster. That's what he was. And it's amazing that he is glorified in textbooks in the United States. They still have this Columbus Day. He is portrayed as this great explorer who brought civilization to the new world. I don't think one would call that civilization, the amount of brutality he brought to the new world. So the people he met in the Americas were very gentle. They believed in sharing. They were trying to help Columbus. They were happy to offer hospitality and food and everything. And in return, they were brutalized, they were enslaved, and they were basically wiped out of existence. So that is what Christopher Columbus did in the Americas. It's a pity and a shame that he is glorified even today in textbooks. The world needs to know the reality about these things. So the truth is that the truth is that Columbus wanted to invade and occupy India. And that's what the Spanish royalty had funded him for. It was an expedition to India. The aim was to invade, occupy, and colonize India. So they found America. That's why they did all that over there. But they basically wanted to do this genocide on large scale in India and to plunder India of all its resources. So that's Spain for you, my friends.